Hello and welcome to the final episode of the Professional Technical Interviewee. Really enjoyed making this podcast. And the first thing I wanted to say was just thank you to everyone who's been watching and listening and supporting the podcast over the last couple of years, as well as thank you to all the guests I had on the show. We had a total of 45 episodes, which was way more than the 10 episode goal that I set for myself when I started. So that's really awesome. I'm ending the podcast here mostly because while I really have enjoyed making the show, it's a ton of work to create. And you might be surprised to find that the 225 subscribers that I have don't quite pay for the editing and tooling costs. In this episode, I wanted to recap a few things that I've learned. The thesis of the show was that interviewing is hard, but you can get better at it through practice. I was just at a boot camp when I first started the podcast, and I could barely code FizzBuzz. Now I'm a software engineer too, and I actually have a side job where I coach other folks on their technical interviews. The other main idea of the show was to shed light on how companies interview and how companies interview differently. In the 45 or so episodes, most of the technical interviews landed into 4 different categories. 1, kind of leak code style problem, solve this arbitrary problem for me. 2, show me a platform or a product that you've worked on and let me ask you kind of technical questions about that. 3, a conversational tell me about yourself or your background conversation that typically tended to get technical in nature depending on what questions you answered or what answers you gave. Or 4, take this code set and then do something with it, right? Basically a technical challenge where they have some type of problem and that's more than just a leak code style interview. We also saw a few system design interviews throughout the podcast, which were a lot of fun. There doesn't seem to be a true frontrunner on which one of these are the most popular methods, so unfortunately, you should probably prepare for all of these types of interviews. Finally, I wanted to share a few bits of reoccurring advice that the guests gave. Number 1 was to be yourself. This really helps you stand out from a whole slew of candidates that any company may be talking to, but also people hire people. 2, ask questions. Ideally, actually being interested in the company that you're talking to or maybe their business model or the person that you're interviewing with makes this a much more genuine process. If you don't have any questions about the company or the person, you can always look some up online, types of questions to ask. So at least you have something to say when they ask, do you have any questions for me? 3, do research. At the very least, you should know what the company does, what their tech stack is, any recent news that may be out there about them, right? If they just launched a big new product, you should know that. And you can ask recruiters for this information when you're talking to them. Hey, is there anything new about the company that I should know about, right? Is there anything really interesting about the company that's happened recently? The recruiter's job is often to sell you on the company, so they're going to have this information. They'd love to share it with you. And then finally, 4, make friends or network. Most of the managers, the directors, the CTOs that we've had on the show talked about how they actually got their current job or maybe their recent previous job from their network. Someone reached out to them saying, hey, when we used to work together, you were really good at XYZ. I've got another position doing XYZ. People hire people that they know and that they know do good work. I'll wrap it up there. Thanks again so much for the support. I don't plan on making any future podcast episodes, but I may still post a technical video here once in a while, so stay subscribed. If you're looking for podcast guests for your technical podcast, I'd be happy to be on your show. You can find me on LinkedIn, or you can email me at dorsetttaylordev@gmail.com. Thanks so much, and keep practicing.